Well, One Nation's thumping win in the Farrer by-election has stunned political circles and is probably serving as a bit of a wake-up call. Now, this win for One Nation is significant because it is actually the first time that the party has won a lower house seat, and it got it with 40% of the primary vote. So what is behind its surge in popularity? Well, you can tell me. If you have jumped ship to One Nation, tell us why. Or if you have jumped ship to another minor party or an independent, what are they offering that the major parties no longer do? Very, very keen to take your calls on this, and I will get to them in a moment. 1300 22 1025. This is what Deputy Premier Rita Saffioti had to say about the One Nation win yesterday.
One Nation is an East Coast party in a sense. It's a Queenslander that leads it. So there's probably a lot more tension over there. That being said, we always understand that people always look into our party to deliver on the mainstream and key issues. But I think the fact that Pauline Hanson is a Queenslander, that many of their policy makers are East Coast, it is something that sees their popularity in the East Coast very, very high.
Okay, that was Deputy Premier Rita Saffioti speaking yesterday. Well, I've got Rod Caddies on the line. He's the local One Nation leader in WA. He's also one of two One Nation MPs in the upper house here. Rod, good morning.
Good morning, Nadia.
So are you an East Coast party?
It's funny she says that. It's quite arrogant to sort of claim that. I mean, as you've just said, we've got two MPs elected into the 42nd Parliament here. We've got a federal member here in WA, and I'm the state leader of Western Australia and make the decisions here.
Okay. So what do you then read into the by-election win and the scale of the win?
Well, I think there's so many different combinations. People are really fed up with the uni party and the historical decisions that have been made for the people of this country. And it's not just a protest, it's people coming across and saying they've had enough of bad policy. You know, I don't think it's the narrative that's been pushed that it's just protests. And we've seen that, it was, pretty much 40% primary vote and, 60% of the two candidate preferred. It's a big win.
And are you seeing that replicated here in WA though?
Oh, our support is growing hugely. I drive around in a vehicle that's sign written, and I don't have a day where I don't have at least a half a dozen people coming up to me. Every time I pull up somewhere, someone's walking over to me to talk about how they're going to vote for One Nation in the next election in Western Australia. And the claim that it's all Liberal and Nationals is just a farce as well, because so many Labor people have spoken to me and said, look, I've been a Labor supporter all my life, but no, I'm changing to One Nation next election. My family is too. So, yeah, many of them stories.
And for those people, what do they tell you about why? What annoys them about the major parties, or what are they not happy with?
I think a lot of the feedback I get is that they make many announcements and they just don't feel like they follow through. They feel like they're not upholding what they say they will do. There are promises made and promises broken continuously over many years, and they just don't want to hear talking points anymore. They want to hear people that are real, down-to-earth people who are speaking about the problems that are really there, like homelessness, cost of living. People can't afford, this $100 voucher, for instance, is just the feedback I've had, the phone calls, the emails, just saying that this is basically a joke, that everyone who has a driver's license to higher socioeconomic people, wealthy, rich people, they're included in that. Why aren't they targeting the real issues rather than just a vote-grabbing thing with a $100 voucher?
What are the real issues, in your view, Rod Caddies?
Well, there's people, I've been down here, I've met some people around here and in Bunbury. Everywhere I go, there's people living in tents. I had a girl email me again yesterday that has 3 children living in been living in a tent. Now she's managed to get in a caravan. The real issues are people that are battling to even have a roof over their head. So a $100 voucher isn't going to help them people. We would have been better off. I'm giving my 100, although you have to register for the service app to start with. But everyone I've spoken to, they're happy to give up their $100 and we'll donate it to someone who actually needs it. I'm not saying, like I'm wealthy, but I don't need their $100 voucher. I know many more people in greater need than myself for $100.
Rod Caddies is my guest this morning. He's the local WA leader for One Nation, and we are, just talking off the back of the thumping win that One Nation had in the Farrer by-election at the weekend. And you don't have to tell me how you're voting, but if you are moving away from the major parties, you could tell me why on 1300 22 1025. I'm very keen to understand what it is you do not like about the major parties, and is this generational? And Rod Caddies, do you think it is a bit of a generational thing?
I'm not sure exactly. Do you mean that for what the people that voted in the
well, no, just generally that you've got a new generation of voters that are maybe looking for alternatives to the two major parties and looking at whether it's One Nation or Independents, the Teals, whoever. The Greens are looking beyond Labor and Liberal.
Oh, definitely. I think social media has played a big part in that. Before, you could only get your information off mainstream media, and there were set narratives, and they would just go across the board, But now there's, all types of media there for people to gain information from, and I think the young people are on social media a lot, so they've got a very different mindset on what they are taking in as information on and understanding, being able to make informed decisions rather than what they've been fed.
Rod, tell me in detail, if you can, or some detail about some of the policies of One Nation, because it is interesting. I'm getting quite a few people on the text line saying what we hear a lot about is immigration. Some do feel that it is a divisive issue. What are the other policies that are important to One Nation besides cutting immigration numbers?
Well, I mean, there's housing. There's been promises of housing being made. There hasn't been a lot of houses. They've bought houses in Western Australia. And I'm guessing when you talk about immigration, again, I'm a state member, so I can talk to that to a certain extent, but Pauline, even at the federal level, they brought out split income, where two people are earning money can split. One person's earning, $100,000 and you split that between the two people at $50,000. Things like that. There's other policies that will help families. That immigration is a big issue for One Nation, but that's not the only issue. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of work. I've been visiting Bunbury, down talking to the people that are fighting for more accommodation for the homeless in Bunbury. There's many different policies but again, it's state and federal, depending on which you're talking about. I'm a state member. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, probably your state ones. I mean, you're telling me a lot about what you're doing and who you're talking to, but what people want to know are what are the concrete policies, because all they hear from One Nation is cutting immigration. No,
well, I would challenge that. Is there anywhere on the, Liberal or Labor on their websites what their policies are? You come up to an election and you try to cost things, you try to work out what you can actually do legitimately. I don't want to be a leader going, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, making promises that we don't know we can keep. Yeah. So, I can only say fixing housing. We've back in 2017 to 21, Colin Tinkner was the leader then. He brought up options to help with the housing crisis, but they didn't take that on board back then. So as we go along, I will put out our policies. I've got policy teams working together now, working on concrete policies to help this state as we move forward. But we're 3 years away from an election yet.
So you can't give me anything and a policy that you will take to the next election right now?
Well, not specific policy, no. I mean, like I said, is there one policy? What is the policy? Is there one that Labor and Liberal have already said they're taking to the next election?
Well, I'm asking your policies. I'm not asking about Labor and Liberals.
Well, but we've got to compare the two, because you're asking me something that is that something that people do? Is the Liberal or Labor already put out one policy even that they're taking to the next election? I guarantee they haven't, because they refuse to. Because they're so. I mean, they're not finalised. So I don't want to speak about things that haven't been finalised. Say this is a definite policy we are taking. I've got teams now. Like I said, we've built up many people now that are supporting our party, many professional, educated people that I've put together a team of people creating policy. And then policies are in late stages, even at this time. We've been working on them for the whole year I've been elected.
Rod Caddies, I am trying to think back to the last conversation I had with Basil Zemplis, Liberal leader, which was almost, I reckon, about 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure he did say to me at the time that he did not have concrete policies for the next election at this point. And again, I'm just trying to, my memory's stretching, but I'm pretty sure that's what he told me. Your party's also saying, or the federal party was saying, it's got its sights on Western Sydney. Are there areas in particular around WA that you're eyeing off that you think, particularly in the lower house, you might have a shot at?
Oh, there's definitely the regional seats, as you would be aware. We've seen that in the Farrer by-election. You know, we are stronger in the regions at the moment. We are building in the city. I think there's a lot more support in the city building, and I've seen that just in this 12 months. It's been building even more as I visit people. But out in the regional and outer metro seats, I think probably Central Wheatbelt's very strong for National, so that would be very hard. But there's Albany, Geraldton. I think down in Mandurah area, that Canning area down that part of the world, we're very strong down along that coastal area there. So, yeah, there's quite a few seats. I think we've got a decent chance of lower house seats at the next election if we continue to represent people honestly and as we bring out policy. Like I said, we will bring out them policies and they will be good policies, and that'll make us even stronger. So I believe we'll win some of them seats in the regional areas.
Does the Liberal Party need to be scared of One Nation?
I think Labor need to be, as well as Liberal and Nationals. All parties need to be, because we aren't here just to be opposition. Like I said before, we are building up to be a strong representation for the people of this state, so that they actually have genuine representation where we aren't beholden. I can tell you now, we hadn't had any donations in that last state election over about $300 or $400. You know, we aren't beholden to any big corporate industry or organisation. So when I'm making decisions, I don't have to think as hard about whether these people are going to come back, hounding us for, making decisions against them. I think that gives us an advantage over the major parties, so they do need to look out. Yeah,
but Gina Rinehart donated a $2 million plane to Pauline Hanson.
No, but you keep talking about Rita Saffioti talked about, it's run by the East Coast. Well, but I can show you my accounts. We don't get $1. I have not had $1 from the East Coast, not from Gina, not from Pauline. All the money we have here in WA came from WA.
No, I guess my point is that I refer to the plane is that Gina Rinehart has given Pauline Hanson a plane to use for campaigning. Doesn't that make her beholden to Gina Rinehart?
Well, she's been 30 years. I don't know. You'll have to judge and ask her that. I don't. I'm saying...
You're comfortable with that arrangement?
Well, it's all declared out in the open. The Labor Party had $162 million in the same period, I think.
Yeah, but I guess the point is...
There's a bit of a difference, and 37 million of that was dark money. So 11 times the amount of money that we got donated, I think it was just in their dark money. So, I mean, there's a bit of a difference from a few million that was declared out in the open, shown, to 37 million that can't even be accounted for out of that 162. And I think these are the figures, and pretty close to it, I would say. So, that's 37 million comparison to 3 or 4 million, including the plane and the money donated, out in the public eye.
And finally, Rod, Caddies, what do you say to people who say One Nation's policies are racist? How do you respond to that?
What policy would name a policy that is racist? Like, I'd ask them to name one. I don't know of a policy. I don't have any policies that are racist.
Well, I assume I've got people texting me, and I assume they will point to your stance on immigration. I imagine that's what they're talking about.
Well, we're against policy on numbers, not on. It's not against immigrants. To be racist, you need to be against somebody. We're talking about numbers. It's a numbers game, supply and demand. It's about infrastructure, what we have to sustain the amount of people we're allowing into the country. It's not about, targeting migrants. It's targeting policy, allowing too many people into the country, especially at one time. All
right, we'll leave it there. Appreciate your time this morning, Rod Caddies. Thank you.
No problem, Nadia. Thanks.
There you go. He's warning you, Labor and Liberal, look out. He says, they're on the march, and I think that win over in Farrer is going to be a bit of a wake-up call. And certainly, I mean, again, it was a thumping, 40% of the primary vote. That is significant. Rod Caddies is the One Nation WA leader here. We did request an interview with Liberal leader Basil Zempilas. He has declined. Linda on the text says, why don't the other parties listen to us about wanting to reduce immigration and take it back to pre-Howard government numbers? That's why I might vote One Nation. Linda says Canada has done it. Nadia, I'm a mid-30s university-educated man and I voted Labor all my life. My parents vote Labor. I have and will going forward vote for One Nation. When I was a renter, my Labor MP gaslighted me when I raised my concerns about mass immigration and rents in 2022, and my rent has now gone up 68% in the last 2 years. I want a party that will put Australia first, says Con in Bunbury. Not globalist rubbish. We need to restore our living standards and our social cohesion. A few of you saying you are not fans of One Nation and believe that some of their policies are racist. Well, Rod Caddies, as you heard there, was very quick to say they are not. Nadia, thanks for giving him a chance, but no policy, just dodging the questions. Reminds me of Trump's 2 weeks of why would you vote for that? But again, it is a long time before the next election, so it is not unusual to not have solid policies in the lead up, this far out of an election, state election I'm talking. You'll certainly be getting them as we get closer.